Cubs win the ball game 2-0 against the nasty Cincinnati Reds to improve their record to 36-22 on the season. That's has to be a top three record in all of baseball. So the Cubs are zooming. Also, phenomenal game by PCA, right? Anytime PCA could draw 2 walks in a single game, that is absolutely incredible. That makes me ecstatic. PCA needs to learn how to draw more walks and have less strikeouts. If he does that, you're going to see PCA fly to the freaking moon. I promise you that. But let's get this freaking shit started. So strap in, buckle down. Let's get this damn thing started. But with that being said, welcome back to another episode of the Cubby Perspective. Very happy to be here. Very excited to make this video, and I think it's going to be a fun video, right? So let's just dive into it. It's no surprise that the Chicago Cubs need a starter for their rotation. Obviously, with Justin Steele going down and Shota Imanaga being hurt for a lot of the season, definitely put a damper on some of the season, right? Even though the Cubs are still playing really well, right? They need another pitcher because they can't rely on Ben Brown. I made the previous video about Ben Brown. It's just not looking good for him. You can't rely on Drew Pomeranz, being your 5th starter. So right now the Cubs rotation is a little thin, but fortunately, I powered all my brain juices together and I put together a incredible package to maybe pry away Paul Skenes from the Pittsburgh Pirates. So let's dive into it and why I think this is a good trade for both teams. All right, before we get into the trade package, let's talk about the current state of the pitching rotation and how it looks. Obviously, Imanaga is not in the rotation yet, but he's coming back some point this month, I believe, on the earlier side, hopefully. So I'm just going to add him in there right now. So right now, the rotation looks as Imanaga, Taillon, Matthew Boyd, Cade Horton, and Ben Brown or Drew Pomeranz. No. That rotation is a first-round knockout of the NLDS. Absolutely not. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. You guys already know how I feel about Ben Brown. He needs more seasoning down in AAA, and he needs to have another pitch. A third pitch would pay dividends on him. Maybe you could throw Ben Brown in the bullpen. He'd probably excel over there. There's a lot of, relievers that only have 2 pitches. So I think that's where Ben Brown will ultimately end up, right? Cade Horton, I love the kid. Absolutely love him. I followed him throughout his entire career, right? But he's young. Who knows? There are going to be growing pains. Matthew Boyd is a veteran. Health is a big concern. Jameson Taillon, he's either on it or he's given up 12 homers in, 2 games. So you can't really rely on Taillon to be good day in and day out, right? And Imanaga is Imanaga. He's going to pitch very well for the Cubs. But this freaking pitching staff, right, with the addition of Paul Skenes, looks absolutely terrifying in my opinion. And guess what? If you get Paul Skenes, you're going to have Justin Steele back next year. So you're going to have Skenes, Imanaga, and Justin Steele, which is probably the best pitching staff in all of baseball. But let's get down to it right now. With Skenes, it would look Paul Skenes, ace. Shota Imanaga are 2. Jameson Taillon are 3, right? Matthew Boyd, 4. Matthew Boyd at 4, that's sick. That's sickening. That's disgusting. That is a deep pitching staff. And then Cade Horton as our 5th. World Series bound. Don't even argue with me if we get Paul Skenes. Let me tell you that. That rotation with Paul Skenes, the addition of Paul Skenes is disgusting. So now, what can the Cubs give up, and do the Cubs have enough to give up to get a guy like Paul Skenes? Let's get into it. So obviously, Paul Skenes is a generational talent. He truly is a remarkable pitcher, and if he stays healthy, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He's on a Hall of Fame trajectory already, and his damn career just started. That's how good this guy is, and no one even knows what his ceiling is yet. But like I said, do the Cubs have enough to trade for a guy like this? Right? Obviously, it's going to take some more because the Pirates are in the NL Central, and they're going to have to deal with Paul Skenes for a long time if that's the case, right? But I think the Cubs have some pretty promising young prospects, right? That could definitely pry his ass away from Pittsburgh to join Chicago where he belongs, right? So, right now, the Cubs have 6 top 100 prospects in all of baseball, right? Top 100 prospects in all of baseball. 6. That's a good amount. They also have a lot of depth. They have a lot of good hitters, right? A lot of outfielders. Everyone knows the Pittsburgh Pirates offense absolutely sucks. It is miserable, right? Brian Reynolds is like, your best hitter, or maybe O'Neal Cruz, but O'Neal Cruz is good. Brian Reynolds is dog shit now, but he was a rock for them for a while. But you need more than that. You can't rely on Key Brian Hayes. Who the hell is that guy? He's a glove first dude. He'll never be a bat first guy. I can't even name 6 people on the damn Pittsburgh Pirates, and that's maybe even stretching it. So, trade package. I am proposing. Now, I want you guys to just relax for a second. I know there's going to be a whole lot of you that are going to be like, holy shit, that's such an overpay. You're a moron. Thank God you're not the general manager. Yeah, just bring it all on. Just start flooding the comments with thank God you're not the general manager, right? I'm already expecting a lot of nonsense. But guess what? You're going to have to give up a lot to get a guy like Paul Skenes. And don't forget, majority of prospects, 9 out of 10 prospects, don't amount to jack shit in the major leagues. So, they are just prospects. They're not proven. So anytime you could potentially get a generational talent like Paul Skenes for prospects, you do it. You do it. That's what smart teams do, right? And not to mention, the Cubs are locked in the outfield. They're locked at second and shortstop, right? There's nowhere for these guys to go. So enough babbling. Let's talk about the actual package. I am proposing that Ben Brown goes to Pittsburgh. Owen Casey, see you later. Moises Ballesteros, see you later. Kevin Alcantara, see you later. James Triantos, see you later. And give us, holy shit, that was a bad freaking voice crack. Wow. I got too hyped there. So, yeah, Brown, Casey, Ballesteros, Alcantara, and James Triantos all heading to Pittsburgh to fill out their offense, see if any of those guys could stick with them, right? We get Paul Skenes in return, one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in the best pitcher in Major League Baseball is Tariq Skubal, right? No doubt, but Paul Skenes is definitely top 5, without a doubt. And guess what? We get Livy Dunn or Livy Dunn, whatever. We get Livy Dunn, at the Cubs game, so that also bring in a lot more fans because she has a large gathering around her, right? But yeah, I think that is a very fair trade package, right? And a lot of people, it's hard to get rid of, prospects, and even for myself. But you got to take a step back and you have to just learn to let things go, right? These are just prospects. They're not proven at all, right? We are getting a proven generational talent who's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. That is huge with this lineup, and then you add a pitcher of that caliber who the Cubs could be the next Houston Astros for the next 6-7 years if that happens, It's yeah. So I would love to get your guys' opinions on what you guys think. Is Ben Brown, is Owen Casey, Moises Ballesteros, Kevin Alcantara, and James Triantos, is that a complete, utter overpay? Am I a complete, utter moron? Is that a good deal? Should I be the general manager? I think I should. I think I should. I think I would make some pretty good trades, right? Okay, I'm going to even dive deeper, right? James Trianto, shortstop, second baseman. Guess what? We have Dansby and Nico Horner locked up, and Matt Shaw as our third baseman. Can't play anywhere. See you later. Kevin Alcantara, outfielder. Guess what? We have the best outfield in baseball. See you later. Moises Ballesteros, catcher and DH. You're not a good catcher. You can't play the field. We have a DH. See you later. Owen Casey. Now that one hurts. I really, really like Owen Casey. That one's tough to get rid of, right? Especially if Kyle Tucker ends up leaving. You know, that would hurt because then you could have Owen Casey slot in the outfield. But I wouldn't make this trade personally if Kyle Tucker doesn't get re-signed. If Kyle Tucker doesn't get re-signed, you don't do the trade. Simple as that, right? This is if Kyle Tucker gets re-signed, by the way. And then Ben Brown. Yeah, Ben Brown has a high floor ceiling, a lot of potential, but he's just not needed. And he could go to a team like Pittsburgh where he could have a longer leash because they suck, right? They could throw him out there, let him eat through his bad innings and stuff, whereas the Cubs need him to do good. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, whether or not I'm a dumbass or I'm a freaking genius, right? So let's go. Always keep the faith. Go Cubs, and I am the Cubby Perspective. Out.